up as far as our businesses are concerned. And of course, we have a great panel, very interesting, gender balance right here on the set. But for now, let's take a look at our panel for tonight.
Rebecca Isabella Chikonko, PhD. She is a highly experienced academia with a PhD from Eindhoven University of Technology and over 14 years of experience at the Faculty of Commerce of Makerere University Business School. She has a strong publication record. Her areas of research expertise include the use of digital innovations and applications in the mobile financial space and tax compliance among small businesses. She has coordinated and supervised research projects funded by esteemed organizations such as Netherlands Organization for Scientific Research, the Netherlands Initiative for Capacity Development in Higher Education, and the Include Knowledge Platform. Rebecca is the Vice Chairperson of the Business Process Outsourcing BPO and Innovation Council, housed at the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, where she actively participates in developing the national BPO agenda. She is the board chair of Climate Hub International and serves on other strategic positions in the region and internationally. Rebecca has also served on the National Youth Awards Selection Committee under the Ministry of East African Community Affairs. Rogers Karebi is the current chairperson of the BPO Association. His journey started in 2008 when he registered and started a Dial A Service Center, a pioneer outsourcing standalone contact center pioneering BPO in Uganda. In 2009, started mobilizing of members in the BPO sector to start up a private sector BPO. During 2011, he was elected as the Secretary General of the Uganda Business Process Outsourcing Association. In 2013, the Dial A service qualified for space at the BPO Incubation Center, and in 2014, he was assigned to the Netherlands Trust Fund 3 ITC project to support growth of the export IT-enabled services. In 2021, he was elected as the interim chairman to revive the Uganda Business Process Outsourcing Association. He was elected as the Uganda Business Process Outsourcing Association Chairman 2022-2024 and launched the Uganda Business Process Outsourcing Association 5-year strategic plan. Rogers Karebi holds an MBA HR from University of Kent, UK, postgraduate diploma from West London College, UK, and a Bachelor's of Economics from Makerere University. William Bazeyo is a Ugandan retired professor who serves on several national committees. He is the chairman of the Business Process Outsourcing BPO and Innovation Council, Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, member Board of Trustees of MTN Uganda Foundation, chair to the Board of Uganda Cancer Institute and government representative on Busitama University Council, and chair of Uganda National Research Innovation Fund at the Ministry of Science and Technology Office of the President. He is a board member of Economic Policy Research Center. He is a Melvin Jones Fellow of Lions International and was awarded Gold Medal, highest civilian honor of Uganda by His Excellency the President of Uganda in November 2022. He was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award among Heroes in Health Awards in Uganda for leading effectively and efficiently responding to community health emergencies. Dr. Amina Zawede, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. She's an experienced IT professional passionate about embracing digital transformation to improve business models, service delivery, and transform people's lives. She provides strategic and technical guidance on how various sectors can leverage innovation and digital solutions to solve their problems while creating employment opportunities for the youths. To this end, she has played a big role in strengthening the linkages between government, the private sector, academia, and development partners. Dr. Zawede is a Rotarian and also serves on the boards of DFCU Limited, Uganda National Bureau of Standards, UNBS, and Mustard Seed Junior School.
Quite a very distinguished panel we have tonight then. I almost feel like calling myself Dr. Ben Wine because of the by osmosis, I guess, because of the number of doctors represented here in the studio, Sandra. As we get started, a warm welcome to all of you. Thanks a lot for joining us on the show tonight. Sandra, BPO sounds very technical, and yet maybe it isn't, as we begin to break it down for our viewers tonight.
Machines, computers, and all that, and much more. But it's amazing. Welcome once again to our panel, and of course saluting viewer who's watching us tonight. We can't wait to tap into the journey, the world of BPO, and how the Ugandans out there can tap into this, knowing that Uganda itself has lots of potential, unleashing economic growth, and as well as creating job opportunities for the Ugandans who are watching us tonight. Let's get into a conversation, a discussion. Ben, you talked about being a doctor yourself. I guess I'll be a professor since I'm next to the professor right here. But allow me get to the PS. Ladies first. Ladies first. I'm just getting to you, Dr. Amina. Good to have your company tonight. You citing out some of the measures that Uganda is implementing to support the BPO industry and ensure a conducive business environment.
Thank you very much, and good evening, viewers. Maybe I'll start a little bit by breaking down what BPO is. I know we hear BPO, but what is BPO? Every one of us has been a part of BPO or practice BPO or even supported the BPO industry. An example is in our homes. You know, every one of us here is able to clean, is able to wash, is able to, you know, mow the compound and all that, but we bring people on board to support us to do this while we wake up in the morning to go and, you know, look for fees or look for work on your career and so on and so forth. So the house helps we have at home, the people who do car washing for us in our homes are all doing BPO because we are outsourcing that function. We are saying, no, I cannot take too much time doing all this. I cannot cook food every day, but let me bring somebody to support me to do this while I do my core function of fending for the home. So that is literally what BPO is. So what companies do or organizations do in hospitals, the main function is to ensure that, you know, we are saving lives. So you have medical doctors there, but at the end of the day, you also have financials, books of accounts to manage. So you're saying, no, let me focus on treating patients, bring in the, you know, have the doctors here, but then I'll outsource or send this function of managing my books of accounts to somebody else. We do printing in our offices. But instead of, you know, spending money on maintaining a printer, buying toner and all that, you bring in a company to do that for you while you focus on other issues. If your company is mainly a consultancy company, then you deal with your consultancies while someone does all these support functions of printing for you. So BPO in that sense can move from that simple perspective. You know, we see people going to the Middle East here to do, you know, those casual jobs. All that is BPO. But it can be done both physically and can be done online, leveraging on ICT. So some of these functions or services can be done. Somebody can develop a system from Uganda for the US or from Uganda for Europe, and every while they are coding from home. So that is what we call, you know, leveraging on ICT or using ICT as a platform to work from anywhere to support a certain function or to support a certain industry. When we wake up and want to order for things on Amazon, online, or for Jumia, you're sleeping, but somebody is awake somewhere in the world, you know, taking care of you and your services whenever you want them. So BPO in that manner is supporting us in so many spheres, right from the small casual jobs up to the technical jobs that people do. We do telemedicine today. I can sit here and, you know, seek for health services in India. That is all, you know, doing process outsourcing, but using ICT as a platform. So what the country is doing to support this, through many fronts, the Ministry of ICT is championing this, because of the fact that the majority of the population we have in this country are young people, 30 years and below. I think over 30 million people are 30 years and below. Many of them are graduates. The majority are graduates. They go to, they have graduated, but they don't have jobs. Their parents want them, or our communities or society mainly leverages on people around us. So you want your people here, but you want them employed. So we are looking at creating platforms or opportunities for people to work from Uganda, but work for either companies within the country or institutions within the country or even outside, but leveraging on ICT. Yeah. So what is government doing? We are putting policies in place to support this. Those policies now gets technical, but policies is, ways that make things or make this happen in an easier way. When we want to, for example, when Uganda wants to look for, we have to have an environment that is relatable to both countries. So we come up with what we call policies to help us conduct this business. We are also putting in place infrastructure, because if we say we are leveraging on ICT, we have to have devices available, we have to have connectivity, we have to have connectivity in terms of internet, we have to be able to communicate via the phone. So the government is setting up all these infrastructure, laying the backbone, ensuring that, anywhere you go, if you're in Arua, in the east, in Mbale, everywhere you're able to access internet and work. We also have put in place structures. For example, here today on my further left, I have Dr. Rebecca, who is a vice chair of the BPO Council. On my left here, you said we start with ladies. That's why I said. So on my right, I have Professor Bazeo, who is a chair of the BPO and Innovation Council. Now, this council was put in place by the ministry. So many players. We have the private sector, we have the innovators, the innovation ecosystem. Because of the youth that we have to have them as part of the conversation. Then we have academia, we have government as well. We'll soon have a seat for development partners, because together we have to support this industry to get to know what does industry offer, what kind of skill sets do they have, so that academia comes up with the right curriculum, industry tells us what they want and we prepare for it, development partners in supporting us to maybe get the right infrastructure in place, also tell us their mindset and their priorities, and then we can get a policy that is owned by all parties and is therefore consumed by us in a comfortable way. Yeah. On my immediate left, I have the BPO Association of Uganda, the chair of the BPO Association of Uganda. We are all playing in this space together. They have an association that collects every entity that is going to be a key player or provider for BPO services, but they have to be given direction by certain policies in place. And they also have to tell their, the members of their association how to behave, how to conduct business, because this BPO thing is not only in our homes, but it is internationally recognized, or we become clients or provide services for the global community. So how do we behave in that global sphere? If I go and promote Uganda as a destination for BPO investment, and I go and sell and brand this country as, this is a destination, will my people go and embarrass me when they are hired? You know how people can embarrass. Parents sometimes get embarrassed by their children when they behave in a funny way when visitors are around. Similarly, if I market Uganda and then they take our youth to work, will they really match up to the standards? So that kind of environment is what the country is setting, setting the right infrastructure, making sure that, for example, if an investor comes here, a company wants to set up to recruit people for BPO, how do they register? How do they, go about conducting business? We have to make it easy for them. So the likes of URSB has an online system that has been developed by our own Ugandans, the online registration, business registration system. So you can, do registration of your business online in a few, it used to take a number of days, physical documents and so on. Now you take the shortest time possible. So government is also mindful of the fact that we have to operate as a corporate entity if we are to promote this country. So that is, we are putting various structures in place to support this.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Madam PS. That's a very good foundation for our discussion. Let me bring in the chairperson of the BPO Association in Uganda, Mr. Rogers Karebi, who, from your profile and from, I've known you for a very long time, you sort of are almost the face of BPO in Uganda. When you think about outsourcing as a word, the first thing that usually comes to people's minds is call centers. Because usually when people thought of outsourcing, it's the first thing that came to mind with India and the call centers that happened there. You've been playing in this space now for more than 15 years. From your perspective, what do you see as the most outsourced services in Uganda at the moment, but also from your journey, not only as yourself, but also as the BPO Association? If you could share some of the success stories we have seen, maybe some examples that people might be familiar with, but not know that they've had some notable accomplishments as being part of the BPO process here in Uganda.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. Yes, there is that notion that outsourcing is basically call centers. However, the narrative is changing. And a lot of people are now beginning to understand that outsourcing is well beyond call centers. Right now, the biggest component of outsourcing in Uganda is human resource. Quite a number of companies and organizations are outsourcing their human resources so that it is managed by another company. It takes over right from recruitment to training to retention to things like NSSF returns, and you keep the burden away, and like the PS was saying, you focus on what you do best. The second one, of course, is call centers, like you rightly said. Customer care departments are being outsourced at call center level. And there's quite a number of them that are doing that. The fastest growing sector or component of outsourcing is actually digital marketing, or what we've come to know as social media. And that,
if you have an account in Bank of America, you will never interact with anybody in the US. All those banks are managed from outside. But the opportunity Uganda has is one, our time zone. We can work in Europe and we can work in Asia. The second thing, our English. There's what they call average hearing time. Average hearing time is when you talk to somebody, how long does he take to respond to you? Does he understand your English? Does he say, pardon me? So when you get our friends, whom I'm not going to mention their countries, when they talk, so if they're employed, then when they talk, then somebody says, pardon me, what did you say? But when you talk to Ugandan, the Ugandan understands and the Ugandan communicates such that the English is so clear. So we say that our average hearing time in Uganda is nearly the lowest in the whole world. If you talk to the Americans, some of those Americans who are black, their English, you know what it is. The other thing that we have as an advantage here is that the government supports. Many countries do not, they walk slowly around this area of BPO. So since our government has come out to say we support, then this is a big opportunity for our Ugandans to get jobs. And earlier on I told you, these jobs are not for the youth only, because we cannot define the limits of the youth since our average age is 16.
Yeah.
So people can be employed up to 50 years, 60 years, and so on. Now, what else do we have here? We have the infrastructure which the PS talked about, but it needs to be developed. And I must sound it very clear that for us to succeed in the BPO industry, to get as many people employed, there is what they call the scorecard. The scorecard is very clear. 1, the language. 2, time. 3, infrastructure. And when I talk about infrastructure, I'm talking about space for sitting, that's 1. Connectivity, that's 2. The availability of the individuals that are skilled. I'll take you back, you talked about my university life. We train people in the university, but when they graduate, and people complain that they can't work, that's true, because they are trained to get a qualification. They are not trained to be skilled to work. And for Uganda now to strategize and take advantage of this is the government to work with the academia, as the PS said, that we talk to the academia now, not tomorrow, now, so that everybody that graduates with the skills to work as a PPO worker.
Because it's no longer just about the course that you're doing, right? If you're going to be successful to work for a company in the US, for example, you don't necessarily have to be qualified in SWAS.
Correct.
Right?
So if we are training you and you are in the College of Computing, and you are going to work in hospital, so we are training you to get that degree. But at the same time, what I'm saying, we skill you to where you are going to work, so that you come out with your degree, but with the skills to work in the industry that you are going to work in. The other thing that we need to invest in this country is the real estate. I was looking around the whole of this last week. If we got an organization, which I think we may get soon, to give us 5,000 jobs, sitting 5,000 people in Kampala in 1 or 2 buildings is nearly impossible. The rooms that are available are small. So we need to encourage, to bring the private sector on board to build the infrastructure. Lastly, but not least, data protection, which Mr. Kare talked about. You know, if you are going to treat people, you are going to be in health, you are going to be in the bank. People want to know, does this country, can it keep the secrets of our patients? And I'm sure the PS will add on more on how far Uganda has gone in building the data centers. Of course, even if you build the data centers, who is going to build them? They're very expensive. But you can bring investors to build them for the nation. And the last thing that we need to build and take advantage, since we have all these advantages, the infrastructure for transportation. You need to go to these countries where BPO is operating. People move like bees because they work day and night.
Yeah.
And they are young. So I'll stop there, and thank you very much.
Well, I'll pick it up from there. Thank you so much for your submission, Professor. I love the bit that you talked about the education itself, picking up from the PS and the skills. I'll move to Dr. Rebecca right there with the experience that she has. I'm sure she'll definitely answer some of your queries and in regards to the skills development. I understand there's so many stakeholders out there engaging into entrepreneurial skills, the presidential initiative of skilling agriculture. A lot is happening out there. But just as far as BPO is concerned, Dr. Rebecca, how is Uganda prepared? Like the professor mentioned, how are we preparing when it comes to education system, preparing the students for BPO in terms of careers and their initiatives to enhance the skills that is to do with existing workforce, because a workforce itself is an advantage that Uganda has when it comes to BPO itself.
Thank you, and good evening, viewers. I'd like to provide a bit of context before we go into the formal skilling initiatives for government. So as Professor has said, BPO has been here forever. It's just that we did not understand what BPO is, but it has been here forever. But in terms of formal training and assimilating skilling specifically for BPO in our education system, in 2012, I believe, there was a BPO strategy that was developed by NITAU. And one of the key factors in their implementation roadmap was skills development. And under this particular initiative, they partnered with Makerere University, the Faculty of Computing, and they were able to train, I think, 5,000 graduates to go specifically to work in the BPO sector. However, the initiative was not assimilated into the formal system of education. And I think that is where we need to do a lot of work. And as Professor said, can we train our graduates or our students at university and prepare them to work in the BPO sector along with their formal curriculum? The BPO sector requires soft skills for low entry jobs. So you need interpersonal skills, you need communication skills, you need a good attitude, proper work ethic, some of these things that are lacking in our students. The private sector has also come up with some initiatives. So we have the Makerere University Business School is running a program with MTN Foundation, which they call the Work Readiness Program. It is also being run at UICT in Nakawa, also in conjunction with MTN Foundation. But there's also other work readiness programs that are being done by Enable and PSFU. And I'm sure there are also other efforts that are being done by other development partners still around work readiness to prepare our graduates to go out and work, simply because we do not have this system or structures in place within our own universities. So as a government, I believe that it is important for them to engage, but also have these work readiness programs run together with curriculums at universities. I would like to also applaud government in terms of developing ICT skills. I think right from primary now through to secondary and university, ICT is compulsory. If I'm not mistaken, ICT is compulsory for every student. And it's the foundation for BPO. The BPO for the future, but also for now, you must have a bit of ICT skills. It's important for you to learn to work remotely. And in order for you to work remotely, as Professor was saying, the nurse will need to have ICT skills. Because you cannot dispense medicine from far away. You're working in America, remotely here in Uganda. You need a medium within which to communicate to the patient in the US, and that is ICT. So ICT is a foundation, and government has done a lot towards having ICT within the education curriculum. The question is it sufficient? Are these efforts that are being done sufficient for the BPO sector? I believe we need to be more intentional in terms of how do we have the right curriculum, but also how do we develop skills, specialized skills, because in BPO there are different tiers. So you have the low entry jobs, the medium skilled jobs, and the highly specialized skills. So at every level there are different skill sets that are needed. What I believe is that the Faculty of Computing at Makerere is doing quite a lot of work in the highly specialized skills, for instance, software engineering, coding, and programming, and all that. And I know some people who are working remotely from here. Yep. They're working for companies in the US, they're working for companies in Germany. They're doing all that at the highest possible level. So we have the highly specialized skills, but can we encourage our graduates and our students to get those jobs at the low entry level and at the medium level, so that we can promote employment, but also solve some of the challenges that come with unemployment?
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Dr. Rebecca. You are absolutely right. So I studied computer science at the university, a product of BPO in a sense. I got the skills. My only use of the computer at the moment is to speak into the microphone and make sure the camera is working when you come to the studio. But what you talk about the highly specialized skills that we have a lot of Ugandans who are working at the moment for companies in the US. I know at least 5 personal friends who are currently earning almost CEO salaries working from their homes here in Uganda. When you break it down to the very basics, and I think Professor touched on this, and I'd like to go around the room, starting with you, Rogers, the issue of the basic work ethic. There's been lots of debates on Twitter in the last week or so about the work ethic of Ugandans and how we behave when we get opportunities, and how, for example, the Indians seem to beat us at, their work ethic and delivery of work. What do we do as a country and as companies that are trying to get involved in BPO to ensure that we are meeting the standards, both from proficiency for language, but also from basic cultural understanding, cultural awareness, and basic work ethic? The way companies work in the US and the West, for example, is that a deadline is a deadline. For the average Ugandan, deadlines are elastic. It rained, therefore, I'm going to be late on the deadline. My power went off, so I'm going to be late. We seem to have a problem with that, unless I'm mistaken. But we can start from you and go around. What do we do around the issue of our cultural awareness and work ethic for our young people, especially if they're going to successfully help us make use of this BPO opportunity?
Thank you, Ben. From our experience, we've realized that most of the people that we are employing in our sector are actually youth, like Professor rightly said. And that gives us an opportunity for us to be able to come up with very strict training programs. Training has been one of the solutions to change the mindset of the way people think. And I like what Dr. Chonjo talked about in terms of the programs that are moving across, especially the work readiness program, because we've engaged private sector foundation to see how us as an association can benefit from this program to ensure that we produce the right agents or people working in our centers with the right attitude. Because the work readiness program has a lot to do with changing the mindset of the graduates. Because having a degree alone may not be enough. You need to inculcate that aspect, the culture of work, which is what we are discussing with Private Sector Foundation to see how they can support us to get the graduates ready to work under the BPO environment.
Yeah. If you're thinking about, I just had an idea in terms of numbers. Have you been able to do any sort of projections as to how many jobs, for example, we could benefit from as a country from BPO? We know that it's almost $340 billion industry annually. How much of that could we potentially look at getting as a country?
And I'll just quote from the last studies that we made, which is a while back. I don't know that that bit has been updated yet, but I recall there was a recommendation that depending on the amount of effort we put in as a country, and this effort comes from the tripartite, like the PS talked about, right from the private sector to the academia to the government, depending on how much effort we put in. If we are very, very aggressive, the BPO sector can produce more than 300,000 jobs. That is at the aggressive level. However, if we tone down a little bit, we can produce about 200,000. I'm trying to recall what numbers Professor talked about in terms of the graduates per year, but I believe it is in the range of 40, 400, 50,000 per year across all the universities. So we'll probably have a chance to try and sweep most of these graduates off the streets. But there are so many factors at play. And I'll tell you, one of them is what is our target market? If we go beyond the boundaries of Uganda and we go out and seek for work abroad, if my client is from Australia, the demands in terms of culture are different. The demands in terms of the accent is different from somebody who is seeking for a client from the US. So how do we adopt and be able to ensure that we serve these clients sustainably. That is the process that we're going through. So basically, at the lowest level, it would be 100,000 per year. If we step up, 200,000, and then 300,000 if we're aggressive. But that was almost 10 years ago. I suspect that could have changed.
Yeah. Professor, your thoughts together with Madam Pierce after you on the issue of...
Because you earlier on shared with the
yeah.
representation that Uganda does when it gets to different countries. But let's start with the professor.
No, it does, yeah. If you think about, that whole issue of, you've been an academician for a very long time. You just mentioned the fact that what we're teaching our students at the university needs to change a little bit. As an academician, what do you think we need to change in that regard? And then we'll hear from Madame Pierce with her thoughts on that as well, especially considering the fact that a lot of the training right now is being done by corporate companies. But as a government, how do we ensure that that training is being done from the very lowest level to sort of help beef up this opportunity?
Thank you, Ben. Just to go back to what my friend here talked about and what you asked first, our work ethic. You see, I think our work ethic is not bad because people do not know, they have not been skilled to know what to expect and what to do. If it was bad, many of these banks that are here would be firing Ugandans every day. But the banks hire people, skill them, and retain them. That means if we are focused on any BPO sector that is going to employ our people, we will know what they require, and we will go ahead and do that. For example, I've been in the Philippines with the PS. We found a company that actually needs nurses now to work in Texas and other states in the US. They are willing to train our people to get that certification of working in those countries. So I think if we purposely say we are employing people for Australia, we will know what they need and we will skill them. And we have also seen all these companies, none of them will come and give us jobs, and we start working or giving them workers before these people are skilled. Now, the last question you asked was, how do we do it different? The government has already started it, and I want to thank the Minister of ICT and in particular the PS, that we are now going to carry out a study with Makerere University, jointly with the Minister of ICT, to do mapping for all these people that have been in the process, either in innovations or in BPO or in any kind of business. This mapping, this database is not available, and the PS has initiated this. The university has agreed to do it jointly with the Ministry of Health and of course with the BPO associations, so that we have this data. So that if somebody approaches Uganda, what do you have on the table? We will have it. And this study will be done in the next, it is supposed to start 1st July. By the end of September, we should have covered the whole country. Then we are going to look at, to bring together these academia, the institutions, and go through. I tell you, you go to some universities, they also ask you, what is BPO? So we are going to the council has deliberately planned to engage the academia. And we see, what do we need to do to skill our people? Because if we don't engage them, who is going to engage them? Because for them, they have to train and get degrees. Lastly, the private sector, as he said, the private sector foundation, they have been working like parallel to the academia. We want to bring them together so that they are able to work and skill our people. I think on that road, we shall be able to hire more. And I think I want to correct him. The figures we are looking at is hiring approximately 600 to 800 Ugandans, 800,000 Ugandans per year Because these jobs are there and the Ugandans are available. If you got the records in the National Council of Higher Education, we have so many graduates that have graduated. Now, part of this study is going to tell us how many of those have jobs and how many of those are actually not employed. And we'll have them. Thank you.
We'd love to have your thoughts, PS right there, how we can position ourselves to compete globally.
Thank you very much. So mine is going to be an easy job, just harmonizing whatever has been said. But I will first talk to the work culture and attitude. Although I think we had kind of two contradictory opinions. One side saying, no, we need to change the mindset, and Prof kind of babysitting our people saying, you know, they just don't know what to do. But the reality is that I think the message I send out to the youths out there is that we should change our mindset and attitude towards work. You know, the good thing is that I am an academician, even as I have crossed over and drew my hands. But the kind of attitude today's students have is really disappointing sometimes. Ben talks about, you know, excuses every other day. Excuse that, you know, you can give a student a 1 month deadline and they will still not make it. They'll come up with an excuse, you know, someone died, I have to go for burial. And it even comes to workplaces. So if we are to, and with this BPO affair, it's a global market. If Uganda does not match up, Kenya will take up the job. All our neighbors, you know, around us will take up these opportunities if they decide to, you know, if they decide to step up and say, you know, we are going to do it. So it has to be an initiative we all take and say, you know, we have to step out of our comfort zones. We have to educate ourselves. You know, BPO is about self-learning. If you know that opportunities are out there, you go to the internet. Instead of using internet WhatsApps for rumor mongering or whatever, use it to teach yourself. You know, buy bundles to go to YouTube and find out, how do I operate in a BPO environment? You know, today we have moved from even companies coming to look for individuals to freelancers online. There's a lot of freelancing. There's a lot, you know, there are a lot of opportunities out there. I have children that I know that are just under 18 in their holiday, and they say, you know, we are going to learn how to make money online. It's an initiative they have taken, and they'll surely make it. These days, I think even just subscribing on, if you have a number of subscriptions above a certain level, you start earning money. So we have to learn to teach ourselves. We have to learn to have the culture of, you know, being professional in whatever we do. And also a culture of liking our country and promoting it. BPO is about branding your country and marketing it. It starts with you. Some people think maybe it's an affair of government or it's an affair of the private sector, but it all comes back to me. If someone goes out there and says, you know, when you employ a Ugandan, that will be it. That will speak for everyone. So if one Ugandan is employed, please behave yourself, you know, live as the best example for us to be able to attract, you know, to attract attention to our country, to be able to employ more and more. Of course, as a country, we won't sit back and say, okay, teach yourselves. We also have to support that. We go out to, you know, marketing campaigns. We are benchmarking to find out what is India doing that is so special. You know, India, Philippines, we all have, you know, similarities in terms of low cost of living. We are all, you know, we are all developing countries. But what is it that they have done that is so special to attract all countries to go there and not come to Uganda, maybe? Yeah. Or why is it that people come to Uganda and then fail to start? So, because it is not that we have not attracted investors or we have not attracted people in BPO. We have, but they have gone for individuals. Why aren't they coming? Why are people working, you know, working as individuals for years online and not as companies, as government? We have to put, of course, in place structures, working together with the private sector. We know that setting up, Prof talked about, you know, real estate. setting up facilities across the country, not only in Uganda. People might think that being in Kampala is what makes you thrive. No, you can thrive anywhere in this part of the country, given the kind of environment we have, given the kind of infrastructure that we have now set up. We have good roads, and but what we need is to appreciate what potential the country has. From a low scale, of course, we know that for BPO to thrive, we have to have our youths engaged. They have to have the right innovativeness and minds and kind of solutions that can be scaled up to commercial, products. Things like, systems like Uber or applications like Skype for messaging started with young people in a small room. So, and our young people can do a number of, develop a number of products, but what have we put in place for them? So we have, as government, we are working together with academia to set up innovation hubs. The first step is to, set up innovation hubs in universities, because we know that innovation starts in, in an academia's kind of setting, or in a setting where people feel that they can come and think. So if we set up that innovation hub in a university, it doesn't mean that someone has to have a degree to go to that hub, but it belongs to the community. But the university owns it to maintain the infrastructure, because if you have computers in there, they have to be maintained. If they have to be connected to internet, and then the community comes to use it. We have also partnered with innovation hubs for the private sector. The ministry has, gone into a number of memoranda of understanding with the likes of Innovation Village, Motive. We are working with them in order for them to nurture, and nurture these innovators. We have also put out calls to train people. But like I said, the mindset, you put out a free education. Ugandans, I don't know, they don't like free things. When something is for money, maybe they will run for it. But when maybe it's free, they might think there is nothing in for them. But we have got these opportunities, then you send out the call, very few people apply. Or if many do apply and actually qualify to come for the skilling, they don't complete. And then you wonder why, what is the problem? Maybe, I wish this was interactive and we got feedback from the viewers as well, to find out, you youths who are watching us, what is your problem? What is it? What is it that we should do?
Yeah, and I'm thinking we should actually ask the matters to take a very quick break right now. So if you're following, please do share your thoughts. What is wrong with you? As the PS is asking, our hashtag is SpotlightUG. That is hashtag SpotlightUG. For everyone following us here on NBS TV and, of course, at UBC TV as well. Do share your thoughts. What do you think is getting in the way of our young people being able to take advantage of these opportunities? When we come back, we take a look at what are some of the hindrances to us achieving this potential and what opportunities that there are, because you've heard Professor Rose talking about up to 800,000 jobs, I heard you say, per year. I mean, that could literally solve our problems as a country. I can tell you, I have personally at some point been able to make up to $12 an hour for a few days by just being able to sit on a computer and transcribe data from audio to text at some point. Something that AI has now taken away from us, but at least before I could be able to do that. But there's many other things that you can do to make money online and be a part of this BPO. We'll take a bit more of a look at that when we come back from a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Spotlight UG on NBS TV and UBC TV as well. Thanks a lot for joining us online. Afro Mobile, if you're streaming, you can be able to get in touch and share some of your thoughts using the hashtag Spotlight UG. My name is Ben Winnie. I'm joined by Sandra Kahunde from UBC. As we take a look at some of your thoughts, we've got a message from someone called Mr. Okello on Twitter already, who has founded a startup in Lira that is training actively remote digital employment for African youths. working for clients in the US right now as we speak. So you were mentioning, Madam PS, how you can do this from anywhere across Uganda. So someone is doing this in Lira, employing some of the youth in Lira to be able to work for companies in the US. Is asking how we can be able to help scale up the BPO impact for entities like his. So I guess we'll come to that in a moment. Joining us to have discussions on this, Professor William Bazeyo, who is the chairperson of the BPO and Innovation Council, the permanent secretary at the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Amina Zawede. I think for today we'll call him Dr. Rogers Karevi, who is the chairperson of the BPO Association of Uganda, Dr. Rebecca Chichoncho, who is the vice chairperson of the BPO and Innovation Council. And we are talking about how we can harness the potential of BPO in Uganda. Before the break, we were hearing that we could potentially create up to 800,000 jobs per year in Uganda, which would probably solve our unemployment problem. Sandra, that would be a really good thing, wouldn't it?
Would really do. The good thing is that the outsourcing itself can be done domestically and internationally. And just the viewers watching on Twitter, the comment has given us and the request to get to know how they can tap more into
people to do this. I don't think we're at that level yet. So I believe for inclusivity and diversity, we also need to understand the landscape, understand what we're capable of doing, understand to what extent can we engage these people in this particular ecosystem, and then we can target or have specific interventions to have them represented as well.
When you think about, just to come to Rogers to shed some thoughts on this, and we'll go around the room again. When you consider the possibility of what you're saying, that if a company came and said, I want 50,000 people right now, you get the feeling we would not be able to avail them immediately, right? Because of the logistics that we have. If you were to paint a picture for us, Rogers, because again, thinking about the global space in which we are playing at the moment, you have a single company like Uber that will open up, and because of what it's doing with BPO, it can be able to hire 100,000 people very easily in the next 2-3 months, almost instantly. What does the ideal picture look like for you? If you were to paint a picture for us and say, as Uganda, as a country, to harness the potential and power of BPO over the next maybe 5, say, to 10 years, what does that look like for you in an ideal setting for us to achieve the 800,000 jobs per year that Professor is talking about? What would you see happening between where we are now to getting to that point? Because obviously from what I'm hearing, this thing has so much potential. We haven't even scratched the surface, but we need to get a lot more organized to make it happen. So if you can paint a picture for us of what that looks like for you, for us to be able to get there.
Okay, thank you, Ben. But allow me to start with an example. And about 10 years ago, we had a partnership with the Ministry of Trade. Part of what they were supposed to do was to market BPO services globally. And the consultant who was given the responsibility went out and over-marketed Uganda.